Right, hopefully YouTube doesn't class this as a gun on the live stream, but there we go. I've still got around to replacing that light bulb. I really ought to do it. It's weird. The only time I think to put that bulb in there, in that light switch, is whenever I go to, lamp, is whenever I go to start streaming. So there you go. So I hope everybody's well. Hopefully you see I'm on. I think I said earlier, didn't I, that I'd be on 8 p.m. most evenings just for people, so they'd know when I was actually on, because I don't know if everybody, if they're a bit newer, don't normally know this is the regular time I stream normally. Unless, I say on the day I'm going to do it at a different time. All right, Henry. All right, AJ. And hello, everybody else joining. So what I thought was quite interesting, I was getting some homophobic abuse on Twitter earlier, even though I'm not gay. But, there are some very strange people out there, aren't there? But, I thought that was quite funny, because the weird thing is, right, this is one of the things I never get with sort of people with the troll type mentality, is if you are going to try and, I guess you want to put somebody down, surely the best thing to do is just ignore them and don't give them any attention. When basically you constantly do stuff like that, it just kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, because all that's done is basically make me go, yeah, I'm pretty pleased that I think I'm quite a tolerant person, and I don't have attitudes like that. But, it was just, I just thought it was quite funny that it was literally, I think they were saying, my shirt was tucked into my trousers, therefore I'm gay or something. It's like, I'm glad that there's people that bother to go around looking through lots of pictures of me to see what trousers I'm wearing, how my shirt is, put into my trousers, to then figure out what my sexual orientation is based on that. But, it's just one of those very, very, strange, sad things. But, oh well. I'm afraid I have no idea on fixing pressure gauges on SCBAs. And I certainly would say get that done by a professional, because something like that you rely your life on potentially if it goes wrong. Homeopaths, what, the ones saying that you can eat radium and it will cure you of skin conditions? Thank you very much, Max. How are you? Oh, I don't think you've seen this live on an actual thing yet, have you, Max? The thing that got delayed for ages, then it got refunded because it was stuck in transit, then it turned up, and I said, well, it's turned up now, can I pay for it? And I've not had any response back for that. But this is, I'll put it on the 0 setting first, put it on, a digital ion chamber. So let's just get that zeroed. Am I zeroing it the right way or the wrong way? I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? I've gone too far. Basically want that to read 0. There we go. And switch it to run. So yeah, for those of you who haven't seen this, this is a digital ion chamber. I find these cooler than Geiger counters just because they're a lot more accurate on true ionization of the air. Yeah, this is the one that was stuck in transit for absolutely ages. So here it is. So I'm still finding out, do I need to pay for this or not? Because as I've said, I was refunded for it, but I've actually, sent eBay a message saying, look, you refunded me, and then it turned up, like a week and a half later or something. Well, not me, Arctic Fox, because I'm in the UK, strangely enough. But yeah, these are really cool. I need to do a video at some point showing how these work with, like, samples. But the thing I like about them, say, let's get a little radium aircraft dial there in the bag, is basically they show you true ionization rather than basically a dose equivalent. It'd work better, obviously, if I was doing it on a flat surface, because ion chambers do kind of go woo all over the place if you wiggle them about too much, but yeah, these are cool. But yeah, they're well worth picking up at some point if you spot them for a good price in the States, because sure, I could do that at some point, Liquid Zulu, but I'm not going to do it on this one. But yeah, I hope everybody's all right anyway. Right, no spoilers, Rajiv, but I hope you enjoyed it. I've not played it, and I hope your sponge cake was delicious. The yellow helmet, that one is basically the Swiss M18 helmet, but made in aluminium and bright yellow for Swiss civil defence workers. It's like the US civil defence stuff that was all in yellow. The Swiss used yellow as well, so basically this was just like a hard hat for Swiss civil defence workers, and it was in bright yellow. So this helmet is the Swiss M18 originally, but this is the aluminium version. The Swiss M18 is basically the Swiss style helm from 1918 up until like the 1990s. I did try that Keaton slug. The therapy is better shielded. It doesn't mess up as much, but it still does give false numbers. If anybody's in hobo of a shotgun, this is the helmet that... Is it Rip in the play? Because there's Rip and Grinder, isn't there? I'm pretty sure this is the helmet Rip has, but just spray painted black. I've done videos explaining why I don't like the GSR. If you want the too long sort of didn't read answer, it's because the S10 was a perfectly fine mask, and then they went for the lowest price sort of competitor to the S10 when they wanted to replace it, even though lots of the bits weren't fit for purpose. Yeah, it's a very basic liner in this one. It's basically like some sort of synthetic leather with a shoelace. It's very, very simple. But I like this helmet just because, you know, it's not a military helmet as such. It's just a hard hat for, you know, pulling people out of buildings kind of thing. But yeah, the guy with the metal face in the Plague, it's this helmet he has. I'm pretty sure it is anyway. Oh, it's because these were designed to be super cheap. As I said, they're civil defense, not military helmets. There is the M18 military helmet that I've got and done videos on as well. And that's a very good helmet for 1918 when it came out. Depends what you mean, Keaton. Basically, all Geigers screw up, as I said, on Crux tubes. Ion chambers don't. If it's a Geiger counter, it's going to screw up. The better they are, the less they, you know, the less of a false reading they give. But they all give a false reading. There's not a German helmet in here other than the firefighters one. That's very good, Stalin, that you got an S10 for that price. But yeah, speaking of German stuff and that, I find it funny that I'm apparently, according to, you know, like people online, both a Nazi and a communist at the same time. Although that's actually a thing in the Simpsons episode, isn't it? Like McBain's like communazis, and they've got like a hammer and sickle with a swastika on the same thing. But you know, you can be both apparently, you know, derogatory terms towards gay people and homophobic at the same time. You can be a communist and a Nazi at the same time, you know, and all these other things. I can be anti-Semitic and a, you know, racial slurs towards Jewish people at the same time. When, you know, I am literally, I just sit on the fence and don't really hate anybody unless they're a prick. I'm assuming it's a thin layer of lead or maybe steel. You see, I don't know enough about these sort of weird pole ideologies, but is Nazbol something like Nazi Bolshevik or something? Again, this isn't going to be a political streams day, but I do wonder what these kind of weird, you know, completely opposite ideologies are. I suppose both the Nazis and Bolsheviks were cunts, weren't they? So they have that in common, you know. No, I don't use ham radio. Yeah, that's the thing, Rajiv. Speaking about The Last of Us 2, is like, the thing is, I know what some of the things people don't like about The Last of Us 2, even though I've not played it and I don't want to spoil it for myself. But again, I think here's the problem. If you have a character in a game, let's say that's a lesbian, some people are like, oh, it's shit just because there's a lesbian. If there's like a black person in the game, like, oh, that should have been a white character. For me, it's more, if it's a work of fiction, I really don't give a shit, you know, as long as they're a well-written character and whatever else. If that makes sense. Because for like me, it's like if I'm watching a film, I'd be pissed off if I watched a film that's based on a historical character and they were like played by like the wrong gender or the wrong race or whatever. Because that's you know, not historically very accurate. If it's a fictional character, especially one where they're not meant to have a race or whatever, I just don't give a shit about that anymore. Just because it seems like such a stupid thing to get angry about. Oh, this character in the film is black. I can't enjoy it now. No, I haven't, Trevor. I've been watching some films on Shudder again. The thing is, again, if people have a proper criticism of the story, that's one thing. But a lot of people who don't like these things literally blame it on certain groups all the time, and we're not even going to get into that. But I just find it funny because I'm apparently a member of all of these groups they don't like, even though I don't think I'm a member of any of them. But again, if you're not anti-Semitic, I guess that makes you, a Jewish person now, but Jew with lots of horrible slurs attached to it, But it's just one of those things I just find quite, funny. But yeah, it'd be nice though to have a conversation about stuff that isn't depressing, like gender politics or what do they call it? Identity politics, isn't it? I haven't even heard about this. If people are saying you can't have a monkey on the box of Cocoa Pops, that's fucking stupid. But here's the thing, it's like, as I've said before, there's some stuff I can't even understand why it would be considered like racist or offensive on like cancel culture type thing. Cheers, Spencer. You can just get them on eBay. I think I typed in foul t-shirt and then this one came up and it was like £9 and it's a Fruit of the Loom one, so it's actually quite good. D&B Militaria, as I said in the video. The thing is, Radio Driver, I think, though, in the Ian Fleming novels, 007 is meant to be like, a white Scottish bloke, isn't he? And that's what I'm saying, because he's got more of a description in the book. But here's the thing. I think more of 007, I'd prefer it if they did a similar sort of film about Black Spy, and then he was just, a really good actor in that. I don't know if you can cancel culture, unfortunately. Oh no, Liquid Zulu, you can't say the word Rhodesian. That upsets a load of people as well. Yeah, Delamorte Delamore is excellent, Rajiv, but as said, just watch the English version of it, not the Italian dub. I think, what happened to J.K. Rowling is a good example, isn't it? Of basically somebody being very sort of, I guess, maybe you want to call it left-leaning and then getting thrown under the bus of progressivism. Because, like I said, that's my opinion on it, is basically just don't be an extremist of any ideology. Anyway, as I said, I don't want this entire stream to be discussing about gender politics or like, political point scoring stuff. It's just, I thought that was an interesting thing to talk about for a minute, but then I think it comes down to the individual police officers and how well they do their job. I don't think anybody really wants to start saying my country's police is better than your country's police. I think it comes down to the professionalism of each officer, because when police do bad stuff and, get all police kind of in shit, that's not good. But then you get some police that do a really good job. All right, cool. Yeah, that will be helpful for the guy who wants to know about sorting out that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's the thing, Snorky, is like you said, at the end of the day, I would just rather live in a world where people didn't have to try and find flaws of other people and insult them over it constantly. But, it's just very strange, isn't it, where no matter how harmless you think your opinions are, you seem to, like, really, really annoy certain people just by having them. But there's a good Churchill quote about that. He says, basically, you've got enemies good, it means you stood up for something in your life. Probably Star submachine guns, were they, Iron Drac? Because I think Star was the big Spanish manufacturer, wasn't it, of like pistols and SMGs? If you've got an ear infection, go see a doctor, Doska. I don't know if you've got an ear infection, but you might do. Yeah, I had the aircon on earlier. I've just turned it off for the stream because otherwise it'll be going in the background constantly. Doesn't sound anywhere near as good, does it? The left arm of the communist world doesn't sound anywhere as good as the right arm of the free world. Well, yeah, I think that's a very good point, isn't it? Emulator for all the people who basically talk about how racist and horrible Churchill was. It's like, yeah, I'm sure he did do racist and horrible things, but he was certainly a lot better than the alternative. No, apparently we're meant to be getting them in sort of Oxfordshire area, Philip. I think in like 3 or 4 in the morning. Like they kept saying like the day before it was going to be today, you know, and then they've kept pushing it back. But I think they're saying about 3 or 4 sort of in the morning now. So hopefully that will drop the temperature quite a bit. Set meows are really cool though, Spencer. I'm really annoyed I didn't get a DIAC one a few years ago when they were like 200 quid. But yeah, I like the fact that, you know, it's like the foul sort of set me G3 looking battle rifles, and it's just kind of a shortened one, isn't it? With kind of a weird retro futuristic look. What country is that in, Brian? But that's kind of cool if they have bolt action Lee Enfields and revolvers, though. I'm not going to lie, I find those things cool. But I put the mead in the fridge earlier to see if it alters the taste, and it does a bit, you know, because it's a hot Indonesia. That's not bad, I suppose. I mean, yeah, I know they could be more modernized, but at the same time, it's not like, you know, they're packing anything really scary, is it? But I suppose if gangs and all that have. Yeah, because M17A2 filters need activated charcoal in them if you're not using the particle-only filters to basically work for NBC stuff. I'm not sure, Iron Drac. I'd be very careful about doing anything like that. I've heard linseed oil can work on some masks, but I'd be very careful, you know, because obviously you don't want to make it any worse, do you? If Duke Nougat's on, but I don't think he is, he'd probably be able to tell you how to restore old masks pretty well. Yeah, that's fine, Henry. I'll undo anybody if you block anybody that I know is a regular and is just making a weird comment, but... What, do you mean like the Chinese style fillable ones, T? Only as like a cosplay type thing. As I've already said, Keaton Slug, I've tried it before. It wouldn't be very interesting right now because I'd have to put all the batteries in it and reconnect it up. What is that Cyberpunk and then whatever the year is called? Is it 2033? I can't remember. It's the people who made The Witcher, isn't it? It's one of those things when it's on sale I might get it, but I'm not going to rush out and get it. Oh, 2077, not 2033. 2033 isn't far enough in the future then. What's 2033? I swear there's like another like science fiction thing that's 2033 and then a title. I mean, we're a bit further ahead at least in 2001 A Space Odyssey, even though we certainly didn't have the 2001 technology in 2001. Metro 2033, that's it, Dusk. I have no idea why I couldn't think of that. I was just thinking 2033, 2033. Yeah, it's Metro 2033. Of course it is. Yeah, exactly, bots. You think about in how they imagine the future in the past, and they have all this cool tech, and then what do you really have? People arguing on the internet, terrorism, you know. I've not actually put batteries in the old CDV input on there, but I imagine it would max out because the you can get Soviet DP5 counters that go way higher than the CDV to max out on it. Yes, the A10 does go brrrt. I suppose it's meant to be deeper, it's brrrt, but I can't really do that. No, Adam, I have no idea where you'd get those, nor would I think it'd be a very good idea for a civilian to randomly be buying them. Right, there's already another couple of weird comments. I'm just going to block a couple of people. Alright, I'll start reading comments from now on, but yeah, as we've said, because we had loads of like weird trolls or just people spamming the chat recently, you know, I wouldn't be the person at the moment to spam the chat with strange questions. Like, here's the thing, if you're asking a question about something that's illegal, don't, you know. I mean, I know in some countries stuff that's legal or isn't, you know, illegal, but I'd be very careful if you go on a live chat and go like, oh, what do you think of this thing that, you know, has dodgy legal status or whatever else? Because, you know. Thank you very much, Toast Bill Clinton. He said, my job banned all respirator masks. Thoughts? That's not good. What sort of job do you do? But over here, we're being encouraged to wear masks, not discouraged now. But yeah, that isn't good if your job is basically saying you can't wear masks. Because the thing is, I can understand it more the other way around. You know, companies saying you have to wear a mask while you're here, and then some people saying, you know, like, well, I've got asthma and don't want to wear a mask. But yeah, but for warehousing, why would they not let you wear a mask? This seems silly because, you know, it's for your protection and other people's protection. So exactly, you had a mask that basically gives you very good protection from viral threats and bacterial threats, and to an extension is going to protect other people in breathing out. So yeah, it seems like your company's done a stupid... So basically they're saying if you had a less effective mask, it would be fine, but because you've got a more effective mask, you can't wear it. Again, that's just... I'm assuming the person who's made the rules doesn't really know what they're doing policy-wise. That is crazy, Rajiv. You've not played Half-Life 2. You are missing out. I mean, not all of Half-Life 2 has aged that well, don't get me wrong. I don't think Half-Life 2 is the best game ever, but Half-Life 2 is still a damn good game. Surgical masks are more to protect other people from you. So if you put a surgical mask over the exhale valve on a regular gas mask, that would be less likely to give other people germs, but a surgical mask in front of a filter intake isn't really going to do much. Replay Half-Life 2 and you'll see, especially the end game bits with all the City 17 bits that drag on with the sort of fighting. Turok, is that the old dinosaur shooter where you have the cerebral drill thing you shoot into people's heads? Or is that another game? I'm sure I must have played Turok. Oh, is that Turok 2, the one with the cerebral ball? 200 Rontgen, I think, roughly, Keaton. Like 200 to 300 Rontgen, depending on the position of the thing. But again, as I said, it's not really that high. It's just due to ionization of the tube. Yeah, 7SE, as you always say, I've had mead out the fridge today. I don't know if I like it out the fridge. It's probably better room temperature mead, but I thought I'd put a bottle in the fridge today to see what it was like. I've already got VR, but I haven't really got any intent on buying Half-Life Alyx. Because I really don't see the point of VR games with motion controllers. It's not really my thing. The thing is, I know Alyx does look like a good game. A lot of people have said it's just I'm not really into VR games. So yeah, like we were saying earlier, back in the old days, they probably thought 2020 was cool future stuff. Instead, there's a virus where people are dying or becoming unemployed, and then there's like terror attacks and riots and whatever else. We were on about Alyx, like ALYX. AJ is in the character in Half-Life 2. Do you mean the S10 red right hand? The S10's cool. No, closest thing I've got to that, Jimmy Stevens, is that Polish body armor I've reviewed, which is kind of a similar design with the big steel plates, but... Yeah, cheers, Kyle. Bought it the other day. I thought this would be the first time I wore it on a video. Right, let me have a sip of mead, Dosker, and then I'll explain that. Right. Firstly, CT12 and FM12 are totally separate masks to the S10. As much as they're both Avon masks and clearly of the same design. Oh, are you on about the Turkish one? Then sorry, I thought you were on about the standard S10 then. Oh, so it's if as long as it's good quality, then that'd be fine. But yeah, so the S10 was basically the first generation Dosker. The CT12 FM12 was the second generation, and then some of the letter derivatives basically does it have a drinking tube? You know, what kind of diaphragms does it use? All the stuff like that. I don't have any Cobalt 60, Keaton. I wish I kind of did, but I don't have any Cobalt 60. That's actually what they use to calibrate the high-range tube, low Cobalt 60, if you read the old translated manuals. Yeah, just because there's no drinking tube and it's a bit lighter. So soldiers, if they're stuck in the field with a mask on for ages, can drink and, you know, stay hydrated. Right, because of all the stuff that's happened before, I'm going to say to people, all the radioisotopes I own are totally legal. You know, don't keep asking questions of it because it makes me very suspicious of certain people now. That's really stupid, though, Adam, because, again, there's lots of very proper reasons to wear a respirator at the moment. When you say bulldozer armor, do you mean here's the thing, because there's two kinds of bulldozers, aren't there? There's like was one of them Call of Duty like bomb disposal suit thing, or do you mean like the killdozer, like somebody who's armored up a big bulldozer? Oh, Payday. What were they juggernauts then in Modern Warfare 2? I can't remember, but yeah, they're a similar thing, aren't they? It's a massive bomb disposal suit type thing. In theory, you could put loads and loads of armor on a person like that, but to make somebody bulletproof enough at the point and they'd still be mobile and stuff like that, pretty much no. You know, that's why we have armored vehicles, because you can have an engine drive the massive weight, not, you know, put stupid amounts of plates on people. All right, let's hope you don't turn into a snork, though, Dosker. Well, it depends what you mean, because you can obviously just have tanks outside a vehicle, but if you're on about when people like special forces type guys breach buildings, they don't wear all that armor flak, so they have to be mobile. I've not filmed anymore, Andy. Obviously, I've done some videos on this channel with night vision, but at the moment, the problem is in the summer, it's too bright to actually go out with night vision, because you have to wait till, you know, really late before it's actually dark enough to be useful to do night vision stuff. In the winter is normally when I get around to doing more videos of it, because that's, you know, when it's actually dark early enough that it's not a pain in the ass to go out and film stuff. But the problem is, as I've said before with night vision, is you can never film it as well as it looks to your eye. I assume it is Keaton, but I imagine it's like all fenced off, isn't it? No, what makes it like more convenient than not being a pain in the ass if it's a level A hazmat suit? I think in reality, that's when Spetsnaz pumped that gas into the building. That basically, if you're in a situation where the only way of going in is basically like corridors where there's loads of machine guns, they'll basically just gas the building. It depends how you mean Eindrak, but in theory, you can't get like personal protective gear that protects you properly from very high levels of radiation. It just doesn't work like that. I don't know, Keaton. Can you stop asking me random questions about the therapy and things like that? They have a customer service email if you want to ask the actual eco test questions about it. What do you mean by shop towels, a truck, Campbell? I know what you'd mean. I know what you'd mean by just like hand washing towels. But do you mean something else by that, shop towels? How do you mean, James? What do you mean on the side, like the left side of it, or what? I'm waiting for some actual questions now. I assume you're on at 9, are you, Mike? If he's not fallen asleep again. Mead tonight, Piono Inferno. I've tried refrigerating it tonight, and I'm not sure I like the taste after mead's been refrigerated. At the moment, there's lots of contradictory stuff being said in the chat, so I don't know who's talking to who. All right, Tactical Pirate. Oh, that's all right, AJ. That's not really a politics thing. I prefer dogs just because dogs are more loyal companions. But I can understand why people like cats. You mean, I like either animal really, but personally, I prefer dogs to cats. But you know, I think that's the sort of thing, isn't it? When you get young kids, that's kind of like really, really, like a politically hot topic. I know some cats are loyal. I'm not saying they all are. I'm just saying that in general. All right, Tactical. Oh, I must have already said that. I said all right, and then you said yeah, cheers, and then you're saying yourself, yeah, I'm all right. I still don't know what you mean by blue shop towels. Do you mean like kitchen roll? If it's in America, you probably call them a different name, don't you? Over here, we call it like kitchen roll. If you're on about like absorbent throwaway disposable cloth. The filter. It depends what you mean, James. If you mean the one on the other side, if you're not using it as dual filters, the blanking plug normally has a voice diaphragm in it. Yeah, if it's not got that, you've probably had a replacement one put in that's just like a solid bit of plastic. No, that sounds interesting. No, is that horribly radioactive? That's just thinking, just more due to the radium contamination than anything. See, Mr. Jackpot, paper towels. If you said paper towels, I'd know what you mean. But yeah, blue towels to me, it seems like somebody saying, like a towel made of, blue material. But yeah, kitchen towels in the UK, we just call them, kitchen roll normally. You know how you have like toilet roll, toilet paper. Kitchen roll is like the bigger ones that are meant to be more absorbent that you wipe surfaces with and then throw in the bin. Just Pacific Ocean. I think that's been a consensus tonight, is most people saying nice t-shirt, other than when people are talking about random stuff. I'd have to add them all up to you, so I don't actually know. Quite a few. I assume you mean electric in the sense. Oh, do you mean electric as in like the arc type designs, or do you mean just electric as in piezoelectric ignition? If you mean electric as in the arc design, probably about 4. The original one I got, the one that's like a Zippo, the one that's like a weird stick thing, and then the like quite modern one that's good. Oh, arc lighters, yeah, like 4. I've got another kind of electric lighter, but that's like the weird coil type ones that heats up like a cigarette lighter in a car does. And they're pretty useless. But yeah, arc lighters, I've got probably 4 proper arc lighters. No, the supermarkets at the moment, Iron Drac, are mostly all right. The main issue is people obviously not having jobs to go back to, because we were put in the whole furlough kind of thing, like lockdown, like a lot of countries were. And what's ended up happening is during the period where the government was going to pay people's wages, lots of companies have just collapsed, or won't be able to reopen because, they won't be able to get enough money with like all the restrictions put on them. In the city, well, I mean, pollution's not as bad at the moment due to not as many people using vehicles, but in the city it can be bad at times. In the countryside, not too bad. Oh, what? So is it just like a big old storage yard of like loads and loads and loads of old aircraft? That's pretty cool. Well, I wouldn't have bows if I didn't like archery at all. I'm not really into it. But I do enjoy it. There's more than 2 bows behind me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 behind me now. I'm in England, if you can't tell from my accent. I suppose it depends where you are with sort of how you know accents, but I'm waiting for some actual questions to come in now. The thing is, interesting enough, Radio Driver, mead's like a thing that wasn't just like medieval Europe. I think mead's been found across a lot of continents, hasn't it? It's just like a really old drink because it was probably quite easy to ferment. So I know the Vikings drank mead as well, and quite a lot of other cultures did apparently. You keep asking the SCP thing. I've been over it loads and loads of times in my streams. The answer is I don't find the SCP stuff very interesting. It's not easy, Red Right Hand. I mean, if you do it long enough from a young enough age, I think people get really good at it. Richard Weaponsmith, who moderates on here sometime, is really good at archery, but why netcoms are you implying the moon landing didn't happen? I believe the moon landing happened. Just simply because of the fact that it was all to do with like ballistic missile technology research. I mean, they wouldn't have all that stuff and then not send somebody to moon. It was easier to send them there than actually, like fake it, wasn't it, really? Right, okay, you're you're mentally challenged, I'll hide you for your own sake. Well, if you've not seen Keaton, I did a video showing ion chambers actually registering by doing stuff like that. Yeah, it sounds good, Radio Driver. Yeah, it sounds really interesting, all that stuff about the old airfield full of all the old aircraft. Don't get me wrong, I find stuff like that really interesting, but it's just, sometimes with these streams you get loads of different questions from loads of different things coming in. No, I'm afraid I don't, some CBRN. And bear in mind, because I'm not in America, the M40 isn't really a popular mask over here. I don't know, AJ. Sometimes when I do a stream, it's, like something comes up quite organically and people talk about it for ages. But I think the problem on some of these streams is when people talk about different things, because lots of different subjects get brought up, you can never really focus on talking about something. I wouldn't mind talking about more creepy paranormal stuff and, stuff like that. But, it's the same. Sometimes when you do a stream, I think the conversation just flows quite well. And other times, you can really be waiting for somebody to ask a good question. Right, Liquid Zulu. In most of my free time, I actually listen to audiobook type things or like podcasts for the most part, because it means I can do other things while listening to them. Are ghosts always good though, Philip? Some ghosts might be bad ghosts. Some ghosts might be like malevolent spirits. Some Soviet gas masks up there. It's too hot to be putting gas masks on randomly today for videos, considering it's like 30 degrees. I've been over it quite a few times. For the most part, I think just basically a half-face respirator with goggles or a full-face respirator. I wouldn't bother with full NBC gear or anything like that, especially because at the moment the R0 for Corona isn't all that high in lots of countries. I don't actually know, Henry. What, Sun Tzu's Art of War, Liquid Zulu, or another Art of War? Because there's more than one book called The Art of War. That's creepy, Mike. But I suppose if you've had ear problems, then body horror kind of nightmares are more realistic, aren't they, than something like a monster coming out of nowhere to get you? I find stuff like that still, Trevor, really interesting, because a lot of this stuff you don't have to believe in it. You can find it interesting. But yeah, it's like probably not much point some CBRM, but thank you anyway. Most of us have fucked up horribly, Iron Drac, I think is the easy answer to that. That's good, Stug. Is it all good? I know you said like it's not got a scratch on it. Does it fit you properly? All good in that regard? Yeah, that's the thing, Joe Mom. You don't have to believe in it to think it's like an interesting thing. So there's some stuff where I just don't find it interesting at all, as well as it not being, believable. But there's lots of paranormal stuff where even if you don't think it really happened, you think that's still an interesting story, or I wonder where those sort of stories came from. That's good, Stug. It'd be annoying if you got one and it didn't fit you, but I'm trying to think, did I have any nightmares recently that were particularly memorable? I don't want to look up loads of SCPs. I know what SCPs are. Is this the one that's a GP5? Like, oh, it's a possessed GP5 mask. That's the reason I don't find SCPs very interesting, because it just got really ridiculous with people writing random SCP stories. I guess an unpleasant dream, Doska, would be a nightmare. Cheers, Doug. It's not actually an SLR, it's just a standard FAL, but thank you. It's close enough, isn't it? Because the SLR is a FAL, but the standard FAL, I guess, isn't an SLR. But yeah, still the right arm of the free world. Right, as it's getting quite warm, I might end the stream a bit earlier tonight. I don't even know anymore, Mr. Dean, too many. But yeah, I'll certainly be watching Weapon Collector's stream later, but yeah, I definitely need to put the aircon back on in a minute, because it's I have no idea, Iron Drac. The thing is, I certainly believe a lot of what people think could be UFOs could be like test aircraft being flown. And then, you know, a good way to hide it is to say, oh, it's like crazy people believing in aliens. Of anything interesting, Henry? I'll have a look when I go off, but if you were talking about something earlier, Henry, and I've totally forgotten what you're on about. Oh, the GP4, was it, without the hose? Right, let me quickly load it up, actually, and if I can load Discord out without timing out the PC, let me have a look at the pictures you sent me. Ah, it is interesting. I don't actually know. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but that is interesting. So yeah, it is literally a GP4 style mask, but where the hose is a screw-in hose rather than being a Yeah, I literally don't know. Is the answer to that? So yeah. In the UK time, Snorky, 9 p.m. normally to about 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays for YouTube streams. All right, Glow in the Dark, I'm afraid I'm off any minute now because it's getting very warm in this room. Or clown mask. So yeah, as you're dying of a nuclear attack, you can honk. It might be a bit pointless though. I imagine it would Keaton the Slug, but I don't actually know exactly how. But I do know that obviously helium and inert gases are more sensitive to it, hence why they're in like Geiger counters. Right. Tomorrow's Saturday, isn't it? I might have a day off streaming tomorrow, because every now and then I like to have a day off streaming, you know, and then go on the next day. So I might have a day off, I might not. If I stream, it will probably be afternoon, not the evening. But where the weather's been really hot and everything recently, it's sort of not all that pleasant to be sat in a room unless you've got a fan going. That's probably a good point, Liquid Zulu, where he says, yeah, it penetrate further due to lower density. But would it ionize the gas around it more easily, therefore traveling less far? I actually don't know. I'll still get like a regular video film for like later in the week, next week kind of thing. But yeah, I might have a day off streaming tomorrow. I might get some interesting hate mail. We'll have to see. Because, you know, at the moment, I just find it quite funny that, you know, that's what most people want to send me is just random hate mail from people I don't even know. You know, what's the point? But, you know, we'll see what I get. But yeah, right. See you all, everybody. Otherwise, I won't be going off because I'll just keep answering random questions. But thanks to everybody that donated. Hope you're all well. You know, I'll talk to somebody on Weapon Collector's stream in a bit, but the thing is, Stug, I wouldn't send hate mail back because I'm not so petty to do that. I just ignore the person, and, you know, if it gets to the stage of being really, you know, properly shit, you know, that's when I'd actually, you know, get the police involved. Because if somebody's, like, sending actual death threats, you know, or stuff like that, that is police territory. But for the most part, I just think, what a sado, you know. Couldn't you do something great with your time, you know? Couldn't you learn a new skill, learn an instrument, do something productive, you know? Spend some time doing stuff for a charity? Now I'm going to go online and insult people. But yeah, right. So see you all not tomorrow, Sunday then, I guess. Right, bye.